Ladies and gentlemen, today we are covering the episode Season 1, Episode 21, Over a Barrel. This is the episode in which there's a new town that's been established called Appaloosa. And they're taking a tree there, and then the buffaloes show up, and they want to stampede, and war happens, and war stops the end. Also, you got to carry, you got to share. Yay. If it's not obvious from my tone, I don't like this episode. This episode is almost always going to be a skip. Like, I doubt I'll ever watch this episode again, even assuming I ever watch this show again. And the problem is everything in the episode. Let's run through this just piece by piece really quick before we actually start covering the big stuff, shall we? So, first of all, we start off, and they've got horse-drawn trains. This is probably an example of early installment weirdness, because later on, they actually have trains with engines that work. It don't need to be drawn by ponies. Yeah, I want you to imagine what it would be like to drag a train, even as a group of ponies. Like, trains are heavy things. It's kind of part of what makes them a train, really. Just if you could just picture that for a second. Oh my God, I feel bad for those guys. We do have pony-driven carts later, but that's a little different. Anyways, so then we've got. God, the episode starts to lose me immediately. That's the funny thing. Yeah, they dragged the train through the night. Do they have rotations? Do they stop to swap out? No, they didn't think about it. They thought it would be a cool sight gag, and they never did it again. I'm more in favor of the trains. It's myself. Call me a weirdo. Hi, Baron. You ever been at a overnight slumber party? Because I have a few times in my life. And I totally feel the one person wanting to sleep while everyone else is wide awake problem. I do have to admit, the episode has one gag that made me laugh the whole time. Are you talking a tree? Are you talking about Bloomberg? No, Fluttershy. Fluttershy's not a tree. What's going on? Oh, Rainbow Dash was saying Fluttershy's a tree. No, I wasn't. Did you say she's a tree? No, I mean, yes, you know she's not a tree, right? Fluttershy's not a tree. I'd like to be a tree. That's the only gag in the entire episode that actually works for me. And horrifying when you consider that Fluttershy nearly becomes a tree later. Much, 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 much later, but, you know, whatever. Poor Spike. He was up late, making them their snacks, and then they all are like chitter-chatter, chitter-chatter. And then he goes off to just find somewhere where he can sleep, and of course, naturally, he gets kidnapped as a consequence of that. Which brings me to my next point. So the Buffalo Stampede shows up. Is it just me, or are they really cute looking? Like, they get this like weird fluffy look going on. By the way, Lord Harrimont, you got a gift sub earlier, and technically that's up to you to decide where that would go. So if you wanted to tell me where you want that to go, let me know. And I'll be like, a Spike kidnapped counter. I mean, does it happen that often? Anywho, so, you know, Buffalo Stampede. And then the episode starts to lose me. This is the exact moment the episode starts to lose me. You got it, Lord Harrimont. Give me a second. That's the wrong document. There we go, this one. Give me just a second. I swear I was ready for this. I'm lying. I was totally not ready for this. Lord Harrimont, Pokemon, Sky, Explorer, etc. DS. Way, way too long of a title. So, what happens is Little Strongheart shows up, and she's like, hi. Oh, no, we'll talk about that last, Baron. Little Strongheart shows up, and she's like, hi. And if you've paid any attention to the way that television or visual media in general is constructed, you notice she is portrayed as villainous the whole time. Rainbow's just like, hey, what's going on? That's a pretty cool jump. And then she's like, oh, so, hey, I just want to talk to you. And then she jumps past her. And each time she's got the determined glare going on. And each time she just starts to upset Rainbow Dash more and more. Until finally Rainbow's like, hey, wait a second. I just want to talk with you for a second. And then naturally this leads to Rainbow getting smacked in the face. And this is an important point. I mean, the camera then takes a few seconds to zoom in on Little Strongheart. And she's got that mischievous grin look going. Like... You know, like, that kind of a look. Very Looney Tunes expression. I want you to remember that. So then, Rainbow's injured. They take the cart with the tree, even though this doesn't make a lot of sense if you're really thinking about it in the confines of the story. And they kidnap poor Spike. Poor Spike. This then leads immediately to the barrage of puns. I didn't catch all of them. It's like, so we've got horses and the salt bar. Then we've got horse-drawn carriages. Then we've got horse-drawn carriages. Then we have Wild West dances. Then we have Mild West dances. I have the really strong impression they wanted to do a Wild West episode. And they just started thinking of all the pony puns they could and just kind of threw them in there. Either way. There's this bit where Brayburn flat out says that they need that grub to live on. Huh. That makes a degree of sense to me. It's the only real resource they have to, you know, eat, to have for food. And they probably aren't getting a lot of imports, given that they don't really have a lot to export in order to get those imports, so they have to grow their own food. All that makes sense to me. I just want you to keep that in mind, too. Now, I want to share something really quick. I have the least notes on this episode of any episode we've got. Of the 21 episodes we've covered so far, I have the least notes of this episode. And I think that says something about the quality of the episode in a bad way. Because what happens now is basically Looney Tunes. For like 8 minutes, it's just Looney Tunes. They do this thing... where, and it's, I don't know how to explain it. There's a presentation style to it, and they have like the old brass band thing going on in the background. Like all the music is just this really kind of a thing for every scene. And it's really excessively comical. And I don't mean comical as in funny. I mean comical as in please laugh. Now, there are scenes that actually get a chuckle out of me. I've just mentioned 2 of them. But yeah, it's very Elmer Fudd is pretty much what this happens. So then we cut to... we even have a horde section. Pinky is the clueless comic relief. And there's a gag that I swear I've actually seen in Looney Tunes. Where it's like, what's going on? Oh, we're trying to do it. What? Why are we going after this? Well, because we need to do this. No, we need to stay quiet or else we'll get captured. And then they're captured. You know, it's just straight out of Looney Tunes. And of course, boom, 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 boom. Then they go to the Buffalo camp. And in the Buffalo camp, Little Strongheart has a line. Please accept my apologies for what happened on the train. We didn't mean for anyone to be hurt. So why were you so pleased with yourself with a little mischievous grin after you managed to severely hurt Rainbow Dash? Like, Rainbow was injured for that for 2 scenes after that, which I know it doesn't sound like much, but in cartoon land, that's pretty impressive. Since most people just kind of shrug off injury. No, she was like, ugh, for several scenes after because of the pain of that. But no, we didn't want for anyone to get hurt. She also derailed a train. Let's not even talk about that. So, what I'm pointing out is, well, I'll get there. Let's move forward a little bit. So we find out that the ponies put apples on this arable land without permission. Okay, at this point in time, it looks like what happened is a fairly simple mix-up. They didn't know the land was taken. They took the land. Now they have a problem. Okay. What then happens is interesting, and it's probably one of the better parts of the episode, in my opinion. Because they bring... It's also one of the worst parts of the episode, because they bring out Brayburn, and they bring out Little Strongheart, and the 2 of them are completely reasonable. Both of them are just willing to talk at every angle. And Rainbow Dash and Applejack escalate to literal war. We're not at the war point yet, but that is what happens. The 2 representatives of the 2 sides were like, oh, that'd be really helpful to learn, yeah. oh, maybe we could learn from that. And both of them just want to know what's going on with the other side so they can talk their way through this. But instead, Rainbow Dash and Applejack escalate it to violence. Then the song. This is the first time I've listened to this song in its entirety in quite a while. It is exactly as bad as I remembered. The music in My Little Pony is hit or miss in general for me. But most of the time, the misses are just, okay. You know, it's fine. It's whatever. And, of course, the hits are awesome. Like, there's several songs I actually really enjoy in this series. But then there's this song. This is the only song I can come up with off the top of my head other than, you are the cutie market. I really don't like this song. I actively dislike this song. And it's a shame because I was hoping I would have the opposite reaction. I'd be like, oh, that's not that bad. No, I really, really didn't like that song. Does the fact that it's meant to be terrible make it less bad? No. Deliberately bad is still bad. I don't know if they purposely made the song bad out of universe since it is supposed to be bad in universe, but my goodness. Either way, I do want to comment on one thing I noticed in the song because I was listening to it this time. She actually has a line saying, we're both completely vegetarian. That's actually interesting in its own right since, you know, I've already commented before on the whole vegetarian thing when it comes to ponies. But yeah, horses aren't actually vegetarians, as has been pointed out to me. And they actually have a ham sandwich in this show, so we'll see. I do find the food concept fascinating because they definitely overwhelmingly lead towards vegetarian or vegetarian food. Like almost everything they eat is vegetarian rather than meat. Just interesting to think about. We'll talk about that as they go going forward. But anyways, so then we have some Looney Tunes thing and blah blah blah. Going forward, we also have this wonderful scene where everyone's running around the Appalachian town, and this is when the slanting really gets obvious, because no one in the Appalachian town is willing to talk or even respond to the crew trying to talk to them. They even make a point where she's like, maybe we should just talk this through, and we have a random pony, no name given, just turn and growl at her like, "Arr!" And then she has a line, which I wrote down. Why won't anyone be rational or reasonable? Cut to the Buffalo camp, where nobody actually wants to actually do this fight. And no, we don't want this. This is a horrible thing. But we have no choice. We have been pressed to this extreme. Then, the Buffalo are nearly talked down from the encounter until Pinky shows up. That's 4 times, if you're paying attention, that one of the main characters has actually made this situation worse in just this episode. That's impressive. So then they go to war. I don't have much to say about this sequence. It's well animated. You know, they do some good stuff. It is a fairly classic, actually what I would call South Park humor. And I don't mean that as an insult. It's when you take something... Simpsons kind of does this as well. It's when you take something ludicrous but treat it as completely serious, right? You remember the episode of Simpsons where they build a cardboard box, like, fort, and then the UPS men show up to attack it, and they have, like, Lord of the Rings music playing as they're fighting off UPS guys with cardboard? That's the type of humor I'm talking about, and that's what they do with this. It's decent stuff. If you have not seen that episode or that scene, I highly recommend you look it up on YouTube. Simpsons UPS Fort or UPS Lord of the Rings, something like that. You'll find it. So they're all attacking with pies, and oh, he gets hit with the pie. Everyone's like, no, he's super killed. Hey, I've got a much better idea. So they cut down some of the trees, which is what we in the business like to refer to as the solution to this problem. They had a whole orchard. They could make the path. Why did nobody think about that to begin with? And now the pony... Okay. Now I'm about to make everyone on the internet angry at me. But this has always pissed me off since the first time I saw this. Why do the ponies have to pay regular tribute to the buffalo in exchange for getting to continue growing the land? Like, you saw what happened, right? The ponies, in political terms, effectively become a tributary state of the buffalo tribe. They don't get anything out of the deal either. They get nothing. There's no real compromise. No. There's no real compromise there. It's just they get to maintain what they already have. Interesting to think about. Now, moving on. Because now we have to talk about the main point of the episode. It's been commented before that there is no way in hell that this episode would have actually came out in the modern era. Because remember, this is season 1. This is like 9 years ago this came out. There's no way they would have made this episode if this came out modernly, right? I mean, come on. So to be clear, I'm not going to talk about the real-life political ramifications of this, because of course I'm not. Why would I? I do have something to share about this, though. If you're going to do an episode about native people whose land was forcibly taken by other people in order to use the resources of it, which were very valuable to them, Black Hills, excuse me. If you're going to do something like that, why make that the comedy Looney Tunes episode? It's not like My Little Pony can't do serious episodes. I know that sounds like such a contrary statement, but anyone who has a brain, who has actually watched this show, knows that I'm serious. You can actually have a serious show here. Yeah, this should have been a fairly serious or somber episode. There should have been a real message here if you're going to go that route with it. If you're not going to go that route with it, then get rid of the frickin' allegory. Right? I mean, this isn't even complex. I am actually astonished they decided to make this episode of all episodes one of the most cartoony we've seen so far. I mentioned the slanting and the wah-wah and the mischievous grin and all that stuff on purpose because all of that is straight up cartoony cartoons. And that's not... I don't like that in general, to be completely honest. But I especially don't like it in this episode. And I agree, by the way, with what Raskor said. The most likely consequence here is that they wanted a My Little Pony Western episode. And then they didn't think about it. Again, this episode came out in like 2010 or whatever. So we've got a bad song. We've got a message that in-universe irritates me. We've got a message that out-of-universe doesn't work at all. Couple good jokes. Couple good jokes here and there. And you can see why this one's on my skip list. I could rant about this some more, because again, the ending of this episode legitimately upsets me. It's like, really? But the problem is there's literally no way to talk about this without delving into the real life politics problem. It's not even politics, real life controversy. And honestly, I just don't even want to touch that. I just want to talk about ponies. Can we do that? And by the way, I looked it up. The Buffalo make an extremely cameo appearance in the first Discord episode. They're the ballerina buffalo. They kind of dance by. Other than that, we never see the buffalo again. So it's yet another first season episode, or first season race that is just kind of ejected from canon. Would this be a lamentation? No, I don't think this qualifies as lamentation territory by my terminology. But this is not good. This is bad. This is... Again, there's a few funny jokes, which did actually legitimately make me laugh, and I'll give them credits on that. But there's just so much blech on this that it's like, oh my god. Like I said, I never plan to watch this episode again. Now, someone in chat, I think it was Shadow Machine, mentioned something. And I wanted to talk this out, because as much as I love shoving my foot in my throat here, this really aggravates me. Why not make it so that the Buffalo Stampede... Maybe they showed that in the episode? I don't think they showed that in the episode. Hang on, let me check something real quick. Let me pull the episode again really quick. Let me skip to the ending. But I didn't catch it if they did, which wouldn't surprise me because I'm a moron. Hang on, hang on. So they're going to stampede through the orchard. That's what I thought. Basically, one of the things that would have helped salvage this is if the stampeding helped them to harvest the apples, and then they would give part of the work, part of the apple pies to the buffaloes. Basically making it more of a mutual thing, right? I know that sounds so blah to say it that way because everyone's just used to rent being a concept, but at least then some actual work would be being put in by both parties in order to get this final product, right? They get to keep the land and the food, they share of the food that come from the land, and they help to harvest the food that gets to the land. Both parties are now contributing to the overall net outcome. Woo! Instead, what is actually presented in the game in the show, and I'm watching it right now. I've got it up to the episode because I'm watching it. Is they just kind of get to have everything with no consequence, but also now they get apple pie on top of it. And if you don't understand why that bothers me, it's the same mentality of like if I decided to rent out a house to you, but I didn't do anything in order to maintain the house. I just said, "Here's your house. Give me money." In fact, we have laws against that, in at least here in the States, where the renter, the leaser, whatever the term is, or the rentee, excuse me, is actually culpable or not culpable. God, I can't think of any words today. Is liable for certain amounts of upkeep and whatnot in order to help contribute to the thing that they are renting out. But again, it bothers me almost entirely from an in-universe perspective because. Ignoring real life? Ignoring real life, King Dunlap. What I'm staring at is a situation in which one party gets everything and the other party gets to do more work, and they also lose something. And that just aggravates me, you know? It's also doubly aggravating because it's not like this couldn't have been met with reasonable discourse under several circumstances. But no. Tribute is what has to happen, or rent, as it was put out. Anyways, thank you very much, King Dunlap. Much obliged the sub, as always. Thank you. And if you happen to know where you'd like to put that for showing interest or increasing party in a future stream, let me know. Anyways, yeah, so this episode, just whatever. It doesn't work in universe. It doesn't work out of universe. I don't care for the music. I don't care for the unnecessarily comedic tone. I don't care for Mr. Red's gift subs. Really not fond of this one. Sorry for just hammering this point in, but I really didn't like this episode on second viewing. I'm kidding, Mr. Red. You're awesome. Not the worst? Well, we'll see. Really, we'll see, because, I mean, that's the whole point of going through these like this. As I've said many times, I never decide Lamentations until we get there. And that's going towards Hedon. There we go. And again, King Dunlap, if you know where you want to put that one, just let me know. Do I expect any Lamentations from My Little Pony? Not off the top of my head, no. It's not like there's a code of honor to My Little Pony, right? So, we'll see. Did this end with a wah-wah? Hang on, I was so frustrated with the ending. Let me check here. And then Little Thunderhoof says, hi, bye, Rainbow Dash and Applejack. The two people who were most responsible for escalating this situation. Even worse. You're right, it does end in the wah-wah because Twilight says, you've got to share, you've got to care. And Pinkie does and she even does literally the pushing through the black hole thing straight out of Looney Tunes. God dang it. That is totally a wah-wah moment. Hang on, where's our stuff? Here it is. That is definitively a wah-wah right at the end of those. That's 12 out of 21 episodes. Oh my god. Anyways, so MechWarrior 5, is that ever going to come out off of Epic, King Dunlap? But yeah, I'm done. I'm done. Let's go ahead and chop off the local recording here.